Hey guys, it's Kimberly and it is Tuesday night. It's a little beyond 8 o'clock and we are back with our broadcast on working some of our pieces. So I'm going to wait for a few moments to have some people on with us. And let me see what my phone is doing here. Always, there's always something going on with it. So I'm just going to wait a few moments to see if we are actually live and if any of you guys are with us. When you come on, let us know you're here so we can welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening. So I'll just give you guys a few moments. I am going to be working on a few things here and talk about a few things that we haven't been able to get to due to our virus roaming around here. So not necessarily in our area, but you know, everybody knows about it. It's going on all over the broadcast and news and whatever. Radio, you can't escape it, so we all know what's going on. Unfortunately, we did cancel some of our classes due to limited numbers. Hey Kathy, how are you tonight? So with limited numbers, we are having to kind of go by some of those guidelines. And where we have been doing our workshops is at Habitat for Humanity, Kernersville Restore, and they have been closed for the past couple of days. So it kind of throws us all up under the radar, so we're all trying to revamp what we're doing here. So tonight what I'm going to do is I am offering you guys kits that I can produce, I can get to you, and maybe that'll help us kind of, since we're all sort of having to stay indoors, kind of give you guys an idea and something to do even if you're by yourself or with your youngins, because we all are now homeschooling. So welcome to the homeschool world. It's something I've been doing for quite some time. But at least you guys got teachers on board. You got teachers sending you information. Your children are getting information through their teacher. And so it's not quite like you're having to do it all kind of on your own. So that's a plus. So welcome to the homeschool world. And it's going to be fun. You guys are going to be on an interesting journey as we have been. Now, back to the kits. When we are, we had several different classes scheduled and set up for you guys. So those classes now, if you are interested in being in those classes or having those classes go on, we're going to do virtual classes. We're going to do kits with virtual classes so we can get those products out to you. And once we get our products out to our students for the class, we will do the class live. So we'll do it kind of a virtual thing. So that's going to help us be able to continue what we were doing. Tonight in this broadcast, I'm actually going to be going over the cabinet class that we didn't get to do because it was Saturday and we had to cancel. So for that, we want to address that with you guys. And I have a cabinet piece here that I'm kind of working on, and I'm going to show you. Some of you guys may have this type of cabinet door. I'm actually working with a young lady, and she has a whole kitchen that we're about to undertake in doing these cabinets, and I wanted to kind of present that with you guys tonight. So if you are inside and you have always wanted to do your cabinets in your home, now is your lucky chance. So since we're all having to be indoors anyway, now's a good time to tackle that kitchen, that bathroom. Maybe even you have a motorhome or a camper and you have some cabinets that you would like to paint to kind of brighten up your camper or your home. We're going to touch on how to accomplish that on some different medium. And normally we are working with cabinetry that is relatively new. Some of it is what do I want to say, like a surface, but so some cabinets today, in today's world, are almost like a plastic with a wood inside of the middle of that, and then another plastic, and so it's wood encased in plastic. There's, it really looks beautiful, and you can paint that. So if you have those kind of cabinets, we're going to kind of go over some ways and tips and tricks to kind of help you along. If your cabinets are super slick, always, you can kind of assess your cabinets, But my first thing I always suggest you guys do is clean your cabinets well. And when I say clean, I use the White Lightning cleaner. I do have a spray mist bottle, but most of the time I have it in a little bit bigger bottle. And get you a Scotch-Brite. And these come in multiple packs, and I can't urge to you enough that when you're working in a kitchen, you definitely want to clean your cabinets, maybe multiple times, especially over your stove, under your sink, places where water has been dripped, and when you're cooking and cleaning, things are splashing around where your dishwasher is. Those kind of areas, you want to really touch on those areas, especially if you're working with kitchen cabinets where you have grease and splatter and whatnot. So just to kind of bear that in mind, that's something you always start with a really good cleaner. And this is a powder cleaner. You mix 2 teaspoons with a gallon of warm water, and that'll get you an excellent cleaner and get your pieces nice and clean. So we always want to start with a clean surface. Then second, if you're working with a cabinet, and I'm going to pull you down so you can see what I've got here. So hopefully I can kind of bring y'all in. Yes, I still have that vanity sitting there. It's still in the workshop. It's curing, and I didn't cover it, but normally you guys know I always try to keep my stuff covered. And again, if you're with us, let us know. I'm trying to think if I am on the right, on my right page that I'm normally on. So next thing, we clean this real good with the White Lightning cleaner. What I am working with tonight is my, and I'll grab my stuff here, is my MDM. So my MD, I want to say my MDF, my, what do you want to say? This is your medium density fiber board. So I don't know if any of you guys understand or have been around a lot of kitchen cabinets where this medium density fiber board. In other words, some people call this what I want to say, particle board. It's a pressed board. So a lot of your older homes, your I want to say modular homes, a lot of I think double wides, trailers, campers, that sort of thing, have this type of wood in them, and there's nothing wrong with it. What I wanted to show you, and hopefully I'll get it close enough on camera, is when you work with medium density fiber board, a lot of the times around your sinks, around all your cabinets, it has swollen, it's gotten wet, and it's swollen. You see this an awful lot in campers. So if you have a camper and you've seen the edges of all of your cabinets are in that shape where they feel raised and you're like, what am I going to do? Okay, you can paint that. So I just want you guys to know, but there's a process that you work with when you are working with your medium density fiber board. So you can opt to sand it by hand, or this is a time when you will actually use a sander. In my case, I didn't use a sander, but I did use some 60 grit sandpaper, and I used a sanding block, which is a sponge block, and I'll show you that. And the reason I used my sponge block is so that it would contour to my piece, and I would still have my contour to my pieces, and I wasn't sanding it down. I'm not sure if we're here. I know a lot of times we have you guys asking questions. If you're there, let me know so I can help you out with this. I'm gonna bring this this medium density fiber board piece. This is a cabinet top. This is what's in the my client's rental space that she's refabricating. So she is remodeling inside of one of her rental spaces, and this is what's in her cabinets. And we are going to tackle them. We're going to make them look very nice by the time we get done with what we're doing here. But I want to show you guys what it looks like. Hopefully I can get it close enough to the camera to show you all. So let me get in here. And I've got some products here because I'm going to show you what I've done. So first and foremost, I come in, I take all of my hardware off. I'm going to take my cabinetry off. I'm going to take all my doors off and everything. and get all of that off so that I can get to my projects. Now on this piece you may want to do, because it's older, so you might want to do both sides. Most likely you will, because you can see, maybe if I can get it close enough, you can see on the edge where it's slightly raised. So you know it's gotten wet. And then I want to show you on, maybe I can get it here. Can you see along the edge there? I think you can kind of see. You see I've sanded. Where I have come in and sanded, I have knocked down where you're seeing this raised lip. And I'm trying to get it to where it's kind of hard. Maybe you can see in this angle where the lip on the edge of this piece is raised. So I'm gonna hold it here. So all along this edge here is kind of raised, and you can feel it where it's just been gotten wet, where people have grabbed a hold of the cabinet with wet hands, and you can see that it's just kind of raised in this area. So you're gonna see that on medium density fiberboard. That's just what you're gonna see. And don't think that you can't paint that and that you have to go and get brand new cabinets and all that fun stuff. That is not necessary. You just want to get a good sander, or if you're like me and you just use muscle power, which is all I used on here. So you can see that I came in and I sanded that. And the reason I used, let me grab my sanding block and I'll show you. So I came in and I took my 60 grit sandpaper. Well, this is actually 80 grit sandpaper, and I wrapped one of my blocks with it. So this is a sponge block. So what that does is it allows the block to have a contour to your piece. So you're not sanding down, you know, you're edging, because that will look nice when you come in and you paint that. So I didn't knock that down. I just came in and took off with this by hand. Now you guys can get you a sander and do all of that if you're wanting to get your sander out. I mean, I have one, but I did this by hand just because I want to show you what we were doing tonight. So this side here did look like that side over there. And so as you can see, we no longer have a lifted raised edge on that like we have on this corner. So that is what I did to achieve that. So that's one of the first steps you're gonna do. So you're gonna get your pieces off, you're gonna get your hardware off, you're gonna assess your cabinet. You're gonna decide, is it slick? Is it, you know, is it mahogany? Is it some kind of oak that might bleed through? You gotta look for bleed through, and you gotta look for the slick part of it. In this case, once you do what I have done here, I left this edge raw just so that you guys could see what I was working with. So I came in, I sanded that down and made it smooth. Even on some of the upper part here, I could feel it with my finger. Remember, if you can feel it with your finger, you're gonna see it with your eye. So that's always key note. If you see it with your finger, you're gonna see it with your eye. So in this case, bye babe, I took it all down, and what you see on here that is white right now is our slick stick. So this is Dixie Belle slick stick, and I'm using it to seal. I'm using it to seal the edge here so that the water won't get back in here. So that is my first step before any paint is applied to this piece. So that's what you're seeing. That's what I put a coat of our slick stick on. And that is also sandable if you need to sand it. If you feel like you want to sand it a little bit more and get a little bit smoother, you can come in here with the, it's caulking. It's an Alex Fast Dry caulk that you could come in here and caulk these edges and make them a little bit smoother. The caulk takes about 20 minutes to dry. And you can clean it up really nicely with baby wipes, and it'll be a nice smooth edge. It's really your preference if you want to get that little bit of an edge on here and fill that a little bit more with your caulk. You could also do it with the Dixie mud and make it really smooth. It's totally up to you how you want to work that, because what the goal is to seal this medium density fiberboard. We want to seal that. We don't want it to get wet again. After we go through all the trouble to paint these cabinets in this rental house, we don't want them to get wet again and for them to look raised. So this is a way to fix your raised medium density fiber board. So that's kind of what I'm going over tonight, because this is probably one of the hardest, most undesired kitchen cabinets, if you will, to paint on your own, just because it has some issues, some underlying issues that you have to fix prior to getting your paint on. Not that it can't be done. So this is the Dixie Belle Slick Stick. I have it on the edges, and it is working as a primer to and a barrier coat and a sealant to seal in all of my edges. Now once I do this, I will come in here obviously and lightly sand it so it get a nice smooth surface. You could actually put, like I said, a second coat on. You could come in here, like I said, with the Dixie Mud and make your edges of this fiberboard much smoother. And then you can come in and get you some paint on. So normally I will put on cabinets, you're gonna put probably 2 coats of your paint. You're gonna put 2 coats of gator hide. That's what's gonna keep this fiberboard from ever getting wet again. Once we seal it with our Slick Stick and we get our paint on it, then we're gonna put another coat of our gator hide, 2 coats of our gator hide on here, which will prevent this fiberboard from ever getting in this state again. So I just want to kind of come and show you guys some of that. I can show you how easy it is. Let me see if I can find I have a little Dixie Belle sanding desk here. So you can come in here and you can knock down your Slick Stick. And the reason I do that, and yes, I'm awful close to that piece right there. So when you're painting inside and you are working on your cabinet, obviously you're going to want to tape off your all your around your stove and your your stove and your refrigerator and everything that's in around your sink. You're going to want to get in there, and you're going to have some drop cloths in there. You're going to tape them up. Now, another thing is, if you are taping up your cabinet, around your cabinets, you want to be careful not to get too sticky of a tape, because you might find when you are done and you're pulling your tape off that you may pull some paint off of the paint in your home. So just be very careful not to get the too awful sticky when it comes to your painter's tape. So you kind of bear that in mind as you're going along. Obviously, you would do a drop cloth. In the case of these, with my client, I would suggest, because of the edge where the water has been, I'm going to obviously suggest to her that we need to come in here and we need to sand that down. We need to seal it and probably put a coat on the inside of the cabinets. Even though you don't always have to paint inside of cabinets, you don't ever paint, and most of the time I never have to paint inside the cabinets, just the frame of the cabinet and the your cabinet doors. So you can get by pretty much with the faces of your drawers and things of that nature. So just kind of bear that in mind when you're working and you're working with the painter's tape. Just be careful that you don't kind of pull some paint back off. So I am using, and you'll be surprised, I'm using the Slick Stick in here, and I want to show you guys because I'm using it to also seal, but also kind of prep and prime my medium density fiberboard. So these are some cabinets that a lot of people are the least desirable to do, but you're gonna find these in some of your campers today. That's what they use. If your board is really, really heavy and your cabinets are super heavy, it's a good possibility it's probably not wood. It's probably the, not solid wood, but your medium density fiberboard. That's what you're gonna find because it's pretty heavy. Most of these are made really heavy. And that's why a lot of the older campers that you may have and you may want to upgrade in your camper, which is kind of a fun little project. You can get your kids involved. I mean, if we're at home, there's low VOC, so you don't have to worry about using this product indoors. You don't have to worry about using it with your children, so that it will make a good little project that you guys can kind of do together. And I know since everybody's kind of indoors right now and we're looking for things to do, this is something that you guys may want to tackle now that you have the opportunity to be indoors and work. And so I can't really show you guys how smooth this really feels now and the difference, but I'm going to paint this tonight, just kind of show you guys how it did look and what it can look like. So that'll give you guys maybe some inspiration now that we're kind of locked in our homes. Give us something that we can kind of do. And if you are interested in, this is the gator hide that I was talking about that we will put over. This is an extremely water repellent product, and it will make your fiberboard safe from the liquid and from water again. And this is the drop cloth. I used it on this piece behind me. So this is well-loved paint. And so I'm using a light color so we can kind of see what it does. And I'm not going to do over here, obviously, because I haven't sealed my fiberboard yet, but I am going to do on the area. Hopefully I can be where you guys can see me. And I apologize for the delay in our workshop, but I still wanted to present the cabinets for you guys so you can kind of see what we're doing. Now, if you were working on a more modern, let's say, a piece of cabinet, you won't have to go through all of these steps. The main step you'll have to go through with your modern cabinets of today and your faux wood and that sort of thing is just clean them really good. I can't express that enough, especially if you're working in your kitchen and you're working where grease has been cooked and you don't realize how things get all over your cabinets. No matter how clean you are, I'm very fastidious, and you can still find, stuff on your cabinet. So that's the main thing. Take a Scotch-Brite when you are cleaning. What this does is when you are cleaning with the Scotch-Brite, it does kind of two things when you're using it. It deglosses it and it kind of sands it all at the same time. So while you're cleaning, it's doing a couple of things for you that's going to save you time and effort when you're using a good cleaner and a Scotch-Brite. So that's your main step in any refinishing project. I don't care if we're working on this piece behind me. It all began in the same way and in the same fashion, which is always clean your piece. So if you were doing that, you would clean it real well, you would assess it, and you would decide, do I need Slick Stick or do I need Boss? Boss is for bleed through, so most of the time you never need Boss and Slick Stick at the same time. That is very rare that you would need that, and so I just wanted to kind of touch on that as well for you guys. So if you have a very slick faux wood but kind of plastic with the wood encased in it, you're most likely going to need the Slick Stick after you clean it. And one coat is fine, and normally I always say let it dry overnight. Excuse me. And then when I come back in after it dries overnight, I do hit it with our very fine sanding disc, and this is our Dixie Belle sanding sponge, and I just hit it really gently with that. And it kind of knocks down any roughness from the Slick Stick. Then I take a damp cloth if you have one, or your baby wipe, it's up to you. Most of the time I will use a damp cloth, but when you use a damp cloth, just bear in mind, I have a mist bottle here, and all my damp cloths look like they're dirty because I've been washing them over and over, and I just kind of come in and I just clean off any sanding dust, so that I use my damp cloth, clean my sanding dust back off of my piece, because I don't really want to paint sanding dust into my piece. So this is Slick Stick, and we are using it to help seal this fiberboard down. So now I have my drop cloth here, and I'm going to paint it in a lighter color, because a lot of times drop cloth, our grays, our whites, those colors are really popular in kitchens because it really brightens up the area. And if this was in a camper, it would really brighten it up. You could choose cotton, fluff, the drop cloth, the buttercream, or any of the grays is very neutral, and it's going to really look nice in your space. So that also is a tidbit. But once you get your Slick Stick on, you let them cure overnight, knock the roughness off of them, wipe them down with a damp cloth, and you're ready to paint. And that's for basic kitchen cabinets are very simple. They're not quite as intense as your medium density fiberboard. This is a little bit more intense. And but that's why I wanted to hit it, because this is probably the hardest cabinets you're going to come up against when you are working in older homes. So if you have chippy paint on your piece, obviously you're going to want to sand it to where it feels smooth. And on this edge here, obviously it's rough over here. I can feel that it's rough because it's been wet. And obviously I don't want it to feel like that. I want it to be more like this edge where I've come in and I've knocked that down. So that's all you got to do is knock that down. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to paint this on so you guys can see just how lovely the medium dense fiberboard can look with a good coat of paint. So I'm just going to go in here with our drop cloth, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start on my edges. And obviously I would want to do, but since this is for tonight and it's for our broadcast, I didn't do the back side of this drawer. My suggestion is, or this cabinet top, my suggestion is do the back side first, because then you'll kind of get in your groove, and you'll get your backs all painted, and then by the time you get to the front of your pieces, you'll be moving right along. Now, what I love about the Dixie Belle products, and this is something, if you guys have never used Dixie Belle products, you're going to notice right away that when Dixie Belle paint dries, it actually is self-leveling. So that self-leveling agent is going to help soften those edges and make them a little bit crisper, because it's going to level into those low spots. So that's another tidbit for Dixie Belle paint products. They are self-leveling paint, and it does a lovely job. And here, obviously, I took the hardware off. I sanded this. You guys see me basically, I have the same hardware going back on. You can see a little bit indentation on here where the hardware was pulled off. If you're changing your hardware, you want to use that, the DAP, what do I want to say? I want to say that we will use our I've got it on me here, on our Fast Dry Alex DAP caulk. It will fill in here, so you would fill it in with your caulk and then let it dry. Fill it a little above, because when you fill it a little above and it dries, it's going to seep down, and then you won't have a little gap there. So that's just a little bit of information for you. You want to be sure, if you are changing the hardware on your pieces, that you want to probably come in there and caulk those holes shut. And you can do that with that Alex Fast Dry caulk. It's DAP Fast Dry, Alex Fast Dry caulk. So I just wanted to show you guys how lovely a set of medium density fiberboard can look. And I'm doing this, and I don't know if my client is on the air with me tonight, because I can't see whether we're on the right page or what is going on. But I wanted to just touch on this for you guys, because this will give you a good idea, something you can do. Now, when you're working on your cabinets in your home, don't, it's like working with a giant. And here's a chunk of paint. I'm just going to pull it out with my finger, because obviously that's a well-used jug there. You can see that. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, and I know it seems like a lot when you walk in your kitchen and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. This is so much. My suggestion is one step at a time. Do one little section, then move along and do another section. Don't overwhelm yourself. You got a lot going on right now with your kids at home, but it is definitely feasible. But just take your time. Do a section at a time. Like I said, this can be done. I'm out in the garage, and this is my workspace out here, but you can easily, you see I'm just kind of lightly going back over my piece. I am using the oval medium brush. You guys don't have to use an oval medium. We have the mini flat, which is The mini angled flat is normally, or the mini angled is normally a really great brush if you're working with the, this is a synthetic brush, but when you're working in cabinetry where you have edges and angles and that sort of thing, the angled mini works really well for that. In my case, tonight I just grabbed my oval medium because I'm so used to brush painting with it, but trust me, if you are painting a bunch of cabinets, this is a long handle brush. It's a little bit heavier, so you see I have to kind of crimp down on it when I'm working with it. You probably want a lighter brush, or your arms or your hands are going to be kind of wore out by the time you get to the finishing results of your cabinets. So just to kind of save your wrist, if you're like me, you do a lot of painting and my wrist is kind of in the groove and I'm kind of used to it. And also this can be sprayed. If you guys are comfortable with a sprayer, your husband's really great, he paints cars or something like that, he can knock this out in a jiffy and they will just look gorgeous. So I'm going to just kind of show you, you saw how little paint that took. I didn't have to hardly use any paint. Of course, I didn't paint the entire cabinet piece, but that is due to showing you guys the results, the difference that you can get. So basically kind of going over all the steps that we would do. I would put 2 coats on here because it is a kitchen cabinet, and once it dried overnight, I would come in and put 2 coats of Gator Hide. I would put my first coat on and give your Gator Hide overnight. If you're not in any hurry, let your Gator Hide dry overnight and then come in and apply a second coat of Gator Hide. That's really going to seal the deal for this medium density fiberboard. It's going to keep it from ever getting wet and raising along the edges like it has done. I've seen numerous mobile homes, modular homes, like I said, travel trailers, campers with this medium density fiberboard. And when it's raised, it just looks like, what am I going to do? I can't save it. You can fix it, as you guys have seen me do right here on this broadcast in this short amount of time. So this is going to be your results. And you guys can see how new that looks now. And let me just kind of get it over here. It is wet, obviously. It won't have this shine to it as it does right now, or the sheen, but look at the edge. I know the back you can still see. You see where I did hit some on sanding it. But along that edge, look how nice your cabinets could look if all you have to do is do a little bit of work and add a coat of paint. Now when this dries, this first coat, I will come in between coats and I will knock this down again before I paint my second coat on. What I mean by that is the same way you saw me do the slick stick. I just lightly went over it, kind of knocked that ruffiness off of your chalk paint, because it is chalk paint. And I do the same thing before I apply my Gator Hide. That's what's going to give you that nice, smooth, brand new look on your cabinets. So pretty much that is how you go about taking and changing raised fiberboard and making it like a brand new kitchen cabinet. So a lot of times, if you don't feel confident with a sander, you can come in and do this by hand. It just takes a little bit longer. If you have a sander, that obviously will help knock this down a whole lot quicker. And if you get it painted and say you see, because I'm looking at it, if you see any spots that still looks raised, all you have to do is just go back in along those edges and re-sand it in, and just lightly sand this down and add yourself some more paint. Add another little bit of your slick stick to the edges and you can fix it. So don't give up. It will turn out very nicely. As you can see, they really turn out pretty and they can be salvaged. So you don't have to go out and put a brand new set of cabinet doors in your home or replace all of your cabinets. That's very expensive, and it's much cheaper to get by doing this. Now, if you are painting a large amount of cabinets, a 32-ounce jar, which we custom order those. I keep some in stock on our most popular colors, but if you need a color I don't have, I do order them fresh because of the size, and I like to keep fresh paint on our shelves. So with that said, a 32-ounce will cover about 150 square feet of painting surface, so just kind of bear that in mind, and when you're doing your kitchen cabinets. So 32-ounce jar will get you pretty far in a regular size kitchen, with the 32-ounce covering about approximately 150 square feet. So I'm just going to cap this back on here. So if you guys are interested in your kits, if you cannot get out, you could just let me know. You can message me the color that you're looking for, the products that you need, and I can get them shipped to you. Or if you're in our local area, I can even get those delivered to you if you're indoors and you're having to stay home, and you know, we're all just trying to accommodate each other in lieu of everything that's going on. So if I can help you guys with that in any way, you just message me. Feel free to message me, and I will be sure to get those products to you. And for our next class was going to be the wedding arrangements, the country rustic arrangements with the books. So if you guys need those, you just let me know. I can get those kits made up to you. I can get them out to you. And on our next live, we're going to be working on doing those books. So I'll show you guys how we accomplish that. And if you're interested in jumping in on those kits, let me know and I can get those out to you. So this is pretty much the rundown on how to get the cabinets. This is what we were going to be going over in that workshop you guys missed. I feel bad that we weren't able to accomplish that. Excuse me. But if you guys are, hopefully what we did tonight in this workshop, it'll help you along with what you need to do in your kitchen cabinets. Excuse me. Like I say, I didn't bring no water in here. If you start small, start in the kitchen, start in a half bath, and work your way up to your kitchen, and just take it one step at a time, and build your confidence. Start on your backside first. That's normally where I would start. Do your backsides first. Then by the time you get to the top of your cabinets, you'll feel nice and confident, and your work will turn out stunning. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we appreciate your sharing and liking our page. We appreciate you following us, and also anything that we can do for you in this time of us all having to be kind of locked in, just let us know and we'll accommodate you in any way we can. So thank you again for being here tonight. I hope you all have a blessed evening, and we will see you back Thursday for our next workshop. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Wash your hands. Remember, let's always wash our hands. So if you're out and about, be sure and come in, wash your hands, right? Thank y'all. Have a blessed night.